Hey, how's it going, everybody? It is the Fantasy Rugby Yanks. My name's Jared Dyke.
I'm Ben Glauser.
And it's been round one complete of the European Championships. And yikes, there's some staggering, pretty startling results and some pretty crap stuff considering the caliber it's supposed to be. But, round one, you shake off the cobwebs a little bit. It's okay.
Yeah, teams are still getting back together after the World Cup, especially, a lot of these teams have significant players in them, whether they're from their home countries, like the Irish and Welsh and Scottish and English sides, and some that have it from other countries, like the French side.
Yeah, that's true. Ready for some drink here?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. I'm going to meet with me to Modines. As always, make sure you're checking us out on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify. Subscribe, rate. Definitely subscribe at the very least. But we'd appreciate some sort of comment, rate. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know how bad we're doing. I don't know. It's up to you, I guess. All right. That was actually a
good pour.
That's perfect.
Look at that.
Yeah. Thank you, Harpoon.
Yeah.
Well done. So yeah, obviously we're not using Rugby Mag right now, but
negative. But they're great. They're great people.
Yeah. But they're it's around the corner, guys. You got time to adapt yourself if you go get yourself a Rugby Mag upgrade for the next round of Premiership, which will be here before you know. It's only 2 weeks away.
2 weeks away.
I didn't think we'd be in the middle of Champions Cup at the end of the World Cup so fast, but before you know it, bang, it's
time
here.
has flown. Rugby time has flown by.
It is here. So, go get yourself a Rugby Mag upgrade. You will not regret it. I promise.
It's the cost of a beer?
Yeah, something to that effect.
A beer or two.
Maybe a beer.
Depending on where you're buying
a
your
month.
beer.
Yeah, depends on what kind of beer you're buying.
That's true.
Depends on how shitty your beer is, I suppose.
Yeah. So maybe a beer, maybe a couple beers, but it's worth it. It's a lot more, especially for the just the value of understanding even more about the game, plus the knowing who's starting just from a quick glance.
Just be like, starting, not starting. Cool. Don't need to go digging.
Right.
Great. Thanks. So yeah, go get yourself a Rugby Mag upgrade. You will not hate it. I promise. News and notes. So obviously the biggest bit of news is the Saracens have decided to not appeal their 35-point deduction and the whatever 5 million quid fine. So, and Nigel Ray did put out a statement that I'm, knowing what I know now, and I think I said that the co-investments weren't the issue, and obviously I'm terribly wrong on that because whatever I read it wrong. But let's go with the second one probably.
Yeah.
I read it wrong. So the co-investments were part of the problem. If that is, and it sounds like it is, in fact, the biggest thing that pushed them over the salary cap line, I have no shame whatsoever in being a Saracen supporter in that case because, in my opinion, and I know I'm not alone in this, Nigel Ray was doing far more good than he was harm with that. Was it probably, he said reckless, and I know he quoted it, but still, it's probably the accurate term. He was a little reckless. He probably should have been a little smarter about it. He's a smart man. He should have known.
Yeah.
But in the end, I have no shame about it. We'll eat the 35 points, and I think Mark McCall, if you heard the interview he did earlier this week, he just wants to get on with the damn thing.
Right. I think it's helpful for the play. So we're starting to see fallout from it now. And yeah, you don't want anything like this looming over the players' heads and just it's another distraction. So from a coaching perspective, absolutely, let's have an answer now rather than 6 or 7 months from now.
Yep.
That's not helpful to anybody. So yeah, I agree with it. I agree with taking the hit. I still think that's excessive. And we now see again the fallout from the excessiveness of the penalty, where don't feel like I'm jumping ahead here.
No,
now Sarrie's, there's rumors that Saracens players, and I'm guessing all of this was involved in the decision being made here, was saying Saracens players are going to potentially skip Six Nations to play in the Premiership to make sure that their club side doesn't get relegated.
Yeah, and
and there's a lot of back and forth over it, but my perspective on this is at some point, and the thing that I think is devastating to a lot of non-Saracens English rugby fans is that the Saracens are basically making England rugby. I mean, and like
we are just turning out England players left and right.
And not only that, but like studs. You know, you look at some of these other clubs that may put up a player or two, and you know, like Leicester.
Leicester.
Okay, but yeah, they have players, but you're not like, oh, they you know, and I'm not diminishing other clubs, like, you know, the Saints are putting up some pretty great players of their own. There's a lot of teams that produce very good players for England, but nobody with the consistency and the high quality that the Saracens Academy has produced. So it's like you can't take the good with the bad, or you can't, you know, throw out the good.
Yeah.
Or throw out the bad and whatever.
Yeah.
There's got to be some sort of...
You can't have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, you want Sarries punished, but then it comes down to it. If they get demoted or relegated, what does that do for England rugby? Like, at some point, you got to look at it with a bigger perspective than I hate Saracens, and come at it with, okay, what's the best for the sport and the union as a whole? And I would not be surprised. So, knowing how things like this go, I would not be surprised if the last couple of weeks were a round of communications between Nigel Ray, Mark McCall, the Saracens players, and Eddie Jones and the RFU to say, okay, what are we doing about this? Is the situation we're all in. We're all in this box together. We all need each other. Here. We're all stuck here. We all need each other.
We're on this island together, kids.
How are we going to do this? And it may have been Eddie Jones saying, well, let's, you know, I'll take the Six Nations and we'll develop some other players, some other talent. And maybe they'll give some of the younger, maybe the other guys like Nick Ezekwe or something like that a run instead of Maro Itoje. And so instead of having a starter as Maro Itoje, you have a reserve that's Nick Ezekwe.
Yeah, possible.
And little things like that, just to make sure that Saracens preserve their status as a Premiership club, which preserves England's status as one of the top 3 or 4 nations in the world.
I can only imagine what a blow up this would be if they were to get relegated. I mean, fingers crossed they don't. You know, we talked about the point minimums that they put up before, and they will. I think they'll be okay. Obviously, that's hopeful right at this point. You know, until they get into the black, then we can't really say they're definitely going to be okay.
Right.
But I mean, coming back to a couple points, like I know that there will be this punishment will not appease everybody by any means. There'll be a good middle that it's everybody just says nods their head and says, all right, let's get the fuck over this shit.
Yeah.
Saracens fans won't be super happy that that's 35 points. They would obviously want none, but you know, maybe a 20.
Right.
And that's not happening. There are some people on the other end of the spectrum that are out of their brain saying that the title should be stripped and that, you know, Saracens should be automatically relegated and all these guys need to go to jail or whatever, you know, something stupid.
Yeah.
So it's not going to appease everybody. So just, this is what it is. Here's the punishment. You can't be going by the rule book. Right. And then throw out the rule book for punishment because you want to.
Right.
You know, so that's just not how it works.
So, I think all of this worked out fairly, especially if, you know, it works out with I think it's right, personally, that the Saracens players skip the Six Nations to make sure that they don't get relegated.
Well,
I think that's the right option to do.
And I think an England game's like 25 G's in their pocket. But in that, here's a couple things and then we'll move on. I think some of these guys definitely feel a loyalty to this because this happened because Nigel Ray was trying to take care of them.
Right. And
for them, I'm sure it feels like, ooh, man, I'm probably set for life because of this. But at the same time, my club might be in a serious bit of trouble. They might feel like they owe it to the Saracens to say, you know what, we can bag England for a spring. Mm-hmm. You know, there's still a June tour, if I'm not mistaken, or a summer tour that will be coming. So, right. You know, there's that. You know, they don't need to. And the Six Nations after the World Cup is usually a developmental one anyway. So,
right.
Let's pump the brakes just a tiny bit. I think that they'll be okay, and I think England will be fine.
Of course,
they're not going to finish as the wooden spoon. Chill out,
right?
You know, listen. You finished second from bottom, not this past one, the one before. Just remember that. Yeah. And you had all these guys, or a lot of these guys. Okay, so just chill your boots.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they feel a special loyalty to the Saracens to do what they can to save this club from going down.
Yeah, I mean, you that's the thing. You've ended up putting players in a position where their backs are up against a wall, where they're not. That was your intent. This is the reality that's now in front of England rugby and the Premiership and all that. It's just not a good juxtaposition. And you know, it'd be one thing if it was a team. And look, I really like what the Bears are doing this year. I really and well, the past couple of years. But it's built towards this. They have a couple homegrown players. They have a lot of bought talent. That's a far cry to me from, say, what the Saracens have done, which is build and I hope for the Bears' sake that they're actually doing that they're developing, because it would. I think I like obviously like Pat Lam. I like the way that they're operating.
Yeah,
and I want this to be sustainable for them. But we're seeing how some of these other clubs don't have that sustainability from within their own ranks, and that you know. This was a terrible error on the part of Ray, with the best intentions, but still, it is what it is. He did something wrong.
Yep.
But that's just, you can't just destroy that sustainability just for petty revenge.
No,
because of that.
No, and my last point is, so you and I are used to NFL terms, so think of it this way, and he said it in his statement too, like. They have an allotment for salary, and it had nothing to do with these co-investments. And their allotment for salary was under the salary cap. So, for all you that are just like whining about how much they got paid and they got paid so much more, no, they didn't.
That's not the case.
This was a not a clerical error. It definitely was a little more than that. But so for in layman's terms, what these players got paid for their game checks wasn't any different than what the guys across from them got paid. Right. So don't even give me that argument. Throw it out, okay? I get it. Their total compensation was different. That's true.
Right.
But in terms of their salary that's being paid to them to play rugby, it was no different than the guys that were across from them. So give me all those Premiership titles and give me my 3 fucking European Cups and stick it. Okay? Got it.
I do like that. It's funny for the I don't know if we mentioned it last week. The argument that players took less to play for Saracens. You see that coming from the
NFL all the time,
right? In baseball, you see it a lot. Like every American, at least North American sport, you see players taking less to play for certain teams because they were like, I want to be a part of that. It's the compensation isn't just this is how much they're paying me. The compensation is I get to play this game with this group of people in this talented organization in this developmental environment and all this stuff. It's.
I mean, did you hear Big Jim?
No.
You could hear it in his voice how much he cared about the Saracens.
Right.
And he said, He said, listen, when I went to Montpellier, that was 1,000,000% about the money. No questions asked. End of story. When I went to Saracens, I wanted to win. I wanted to win trophies, and he knew they were going to. He knew they were ready to. So he took probably what was far less money to sign up and be able to do that. And we know about the whole players that they have that nobody wanted type of thing, and now they turned them into beasts. That's something we've already hammered into the ground. So listen, bottom line, they've taken the punishment. Maybe it's not your favorite. Certainly not ours. We're going to call this to the middle of the road.
Yeah.
Nothing's getting wiped away. Let's move forward and see what happens. Okay?
And really, let's focus on the important thing is my fantasy teams. And if you'll notice, in both of our fantasy rugby draft leagues, I filled my reserves with like basically Saracens studs who were over at the World Cup.
Right.
And I was like, well, it's going to suck for Six Nations for those players. And now all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute. I get these guys all year. And they have to play because they need the points. So
yes. That's funny. Yeah, I hadn't even thought of that. There you go. You hit the jackpot.
Yeah, exactly. Let's look at the positives here.
That is the jackpot, all right. So, unfortunately, neither one of us watched the Bobbis Fiji match, but USA Eagle Ben Landry got picked to be in the reserves for the Brazil match.
That's excellent.
For the Babas Brazil match.
So I assume he's not the first Eagle ever to be selected for the Babas.
No, but like Samu's played, AJ's played, like that's just Clever's played for them.
Okay.
You know, it goes back. I'm pretty sure there was others that I just can't think of off the top of my head.
All right, I'm just making sure because
no. I mean, if he was the first ever Eagle to be on the Babas, I'd be a little
more excited. I'd be a little bit more excited.
Listen, he played a hell of a tournament, but that'd be a question mark in my brain.
Right.
But no, he is not. So. But good on him. He did have a pretty darn good tournament. He was hitting like a hammer over in Japan. So awesome. Yeah. Awesome for Ben Landry. Let's go to your coaching notes that you've come up with since the end of the round here.
Well, it's more refereeing notes than anything.
Fair enough.
I saw Marler. Joe Marler had a very interesting point that got my brain all working, and this plus a couple of the moaners and the commentaries that we've heard about with all the box kicks and the caterpillar rucks. Anyway, Marler's comments about the scrum really got the old hamster running on his wheel in my head. And what he said, that he tweeted out a comment that when a scrum's collapsed and some scrums push anyway to try to earn a penalty out of it.
Agreed.
And he's like, that's got to go. It's cowardly. It's dangerous, and he's right on every respect. It's cynical.
There's a lot of dangerous.
There's everything bad about it. Was what that is.
Agreed.
And then there obviously the comments about those we're waiting for them to set up the kick, and and then let's start with the scrum. What I would like to see with the scrum is, because there are a lot of teams that just keep that ball in the scrum unnecessarily and try to milk a penalty, and it just slows the fucking game down. Because you can go from one end of the field to the other without ever actually having thrown a fucking pass, the way some of these teams operate, where they can even score a try without throwing a pass, because you can win a scrum penalty, kick it down to the corner, fucking get a maul, get a penalty, kick it even for maybe deeper into the corner, and then pick and go until you get over. You can, without throwing a pass, you can score that easily. Just by milking penalties, kind of cynically. What I would like to see around the scrum is as soon as the scrum half puts the ball into the scrum, he is in use it conditions. So he has 5 seconds to use that ball, which unless the scrum moves. Yeah. Unless they go full. So if you want to drive in maul for the 5 meter line.
Right. Well, it's kind of like a maul.
Right.
If the mauls come stop once, time to use it, dude.
Yep. So I would like to see that. That way, it's your responsibility to use that ball quickly, and get it out.
Yeah. No argument
to kill those scrum penalties. That again, they're trying to draw a cheap penalty. Plus, how many referees can actually properly officiate a scrum?
Oh, you can count them on one hand.
Right. And every time there's a scrum penalty, both sides have, not every time, but probably 75% of the time, both sides should be able to point at and say, but this happened, this other, it could go either way. Let's eliminate that. If it goes down, fuck it, we're going to re-scrum. Or if you do something in such a way that you can't play that ball, short arm to the other team. There you go. You fucked up.
There you go. Yep.
You didn't clearly have a dominant scrum, so it's not your ball anymore.
Yep. Give you that.
Speed up the game. Make people focus on the right things. The scrum, the support of the scrum and the set pieces are just to set up fucking rugby. We want to play. We don't want to sit in the scrum for 10 minutes while they fucking sort themselves out.
Yeah, no argument on me.
The other one is these fucking caterpillar rucks, and the humorous one that Exeter did a couple of weeks ago.
I saw a couple this weekend too.
Right. So what I would like to see around that, and I don't mind the kicking game. I think it's great, and as long as it's used properly and effectively. And tactically.
Don't put us to sleep here.
Right. Which is, and we'll get to a little bit of that later. But there's also question marks around when the ball is out of the ruck. As far as if that ball's bouncing around, did that bounce out enough for that to be out? Did it not? What I would like to see is, in addition to the rule, or the laws around the ruck, where if the ball is further away than the tackled player's arm can reach, so out of his arm's length,
right,
that ball's out, whether it's covered or anything. If that's out of his reach, balls out, fucking play it.
Right.
That way you can't have that like 10-meter caterpillar rock.
I like it.
And it just speeds it up so that, if you want a box kick, fine. Take the fucking box kick.
Yeah.
Don't take 15 seconds to get this going. Let's play some rugby here.
Agreed.
So those are my two things that if we're going to really, I think that's more the direction that I think the game should go as far as more playing rugby. Let's get more, ball in action than not going anywhere. We have enough sports like American football and baseball.
Stop, go.
Where
Good God.
There's just not enough action. Rugby's one of the sports that it's great, but man, there's times where you can just stop paying attention to a game.
You won't miss a thing.
And you won't miss a goddamn thing.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. It does. These caterpillar rucks do make me appreciate people that are able to just get the ball, box kick without having to set that damn thing up.
Or let your 10 kick.
Yeah, I know.
Is that really the worst thing in the world?
No, it's not. They just don't. People are trying to avoid that.
They don't want to give up the 10 meters and all that. But hey, that's I think that would be a more entertaining game.
Yeah, no arguing out of me, man. So yeah, I don't argue with any of those. We're not trying two things that can make the game better.
Right. I'm not trying to be like, oh, let's add a ninth player to the scrum. No, I'm not doing.
Get the fuck out of here. Nope.
No. I'm trying to do stuff that actually, streamlines the game a little bit here.
Hefty, no, thank you.
I'm out.
Airball. So there could be some happenings with TFRY in the near future. There's been chatter. And some people say speak it into existence. I'm on the side of don't jinx the fuck out of it.
No.
I want to keep that under my hat but so just pay attention to what's going on with us. If there's something big, obviously Ben and I are gonna drop it on Twitter before we get to here probably. But we'll see what happens. It could be a while until we find out actual news, but keep it on. We could have some bit of fun coming up, and we're going to be having a really good time.
Keep watching this space.
Yeah, that one. Did we play rugby this weekend?
Did we play rugby this weekend?
I don't know. Was there rugby this weekend at all?
Oh, you mean the players? I was like, I don't fucking remember when I played. Yeah, yes. There was actually rugby that was played.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I mean, there were some good matches as much as I shat on the round one, but there was this was one of them. Friday night kickoff, Gloucester and Toulouse. Toulouse seems to like that part of England over there.
They do.
Taking care of. I mean, they had to put in a good performance. I will say this, and this was my match to watch, but obviously we both watched it.
Yeah.
I will say this. Really, there was not a lot going on for Gloucester other than the two Joe Simpson tries.
Right.
What I did appreciate, and I know you love this chart. I'm pretty sure you might have done something that you know what to it. Playmakers.
Yeah.
The playmaker chart where the action was coming off of. And I did appreciate where the Gloucester was pretty darn even split. About 40% off 10. The other two had 30 off 12 and 9. I was like, wow, I like that. And Toulouse were just being really ugly and just playing it off 9 a lot. So at that time, Gloucester had the lead. So I was like, oh, that kind of makes sense. But really, Toulouse had a lot of the ball and just didn't do anything with it.
So here's a stat that I would really like to see. And this game really triggered that for me. Again, something else that got the old hamster running on his wheel.